This is the Aunty M Brain Tumours talk show. It's a show full of informative chat and inspirational messages. The Aunty M Brain Tumours talk show on podcast.
My name's Gladwyn, and in 2011, my life changed completely. I had been experiencing symptoms of memory loss, which I've still got today. My periods had stopped. I was 35, so it's quite early for that. It had started with really heavy periods, and then after that, the periods just stopped. I started to forget my daughter when she was younger. At the time, I think she was about 14, and I just couldn't picture her when she was younger. I couldn't recall any memories or anything like that. Another thing was I opened my wardrobe one day and there's a denim jacket in there. It's lovely. I thought, where the bloody hell's that from? And I said to my daughter, is this yours? She went, no, we bought it in Birmingham. I didn't even remember going to Birmingham, let alone buying the denim jacket. And I think maybe that's when I thought, something's not right. I went to the doctor and discussed my lack of periods, and they were like, oh, it's a bit early, but you're probably going through the menopause. There's a test we can do, a blood test. I don't know what that was, can't remember. And this female doctor said it will probably come back negative, but it's one of them false negative things that sometimes happens. And she was right, it did come back negative, but she said, no, you've probably got just the menopause. You're just going through the menopause. But we'll give you some tablets to see if we can kickstart your periods again. And those tablets didn't work. The memory got worse and worse. I remember, everybody goes upstairs and they're like, oh, what did I come upstairs for? Or you go to the supermarket and you're like, oh, I can't remember what I need now. And then you end up going home with stuff that you've already got. But I would walk into a supermarket and think, how did I get here? Why am I even here? It wasn't a case of I can't remember what I need to get. It was, I don't even know why I'm here. For a year, the doctor, this female doctor, who I still hold a grudge against, I don't know why, I can't let it go. I need to let it go. So this going back to 2011, she was just patronising and dismissive. In fact, one day she's facing her computer and I'm sat there. She's looking at my notes. She puts her hands in her lap and she turns around to look at me and she says, I think you're a little bit stressed, love. And I was just so angry, especially as she was a woman that was older than me, so had perhaps experienced these symptoms herself, and knew how difficult that it was. She said, oh, well, we can do that blood test again. And I'm like, no, there's something wrong. There's something more. And I think jumping forward a little bit, but just so that I don't forget to say it, is at the time I was 35, I'd lived with myself for 35 years. I was incredibly fit then. I knew when there was something wrong with my body. I knew what wasn't my normal. And that's what made me keep pushing. And the last time I went to the doctors, I asked to see a male doctor. And I drove there. And on the way there, I approached a roundabout. And I didn't have a clue which way to go round it. I didn't know whether I had to go right or left. And I thought, okay, this isn't stress. This is something else. And I thought maybe what I'd been Googling was perhaps early onset dementia or something like that. And I went to the doctor and I said, I need a second opinion. I want to see somebody else. And they referred me to a gynecologist because they were of the opinion that it was menopause. And I saw this gynecologist, and almost immediately after he'd read my notes, he said, have you had a prolactin test? Now, even though my memory was really bad at that time, I didn't recall the word. And I said, I've had the menopause test, but I don't think I've had a prolactin test. He said, yeah, this isn't a menopause test. So I'd like you to go and go down the corridor and have a blood test. I had a blood test, and then 8:00 that evening, he phoned me and he said, you've got a high prolactin, so I'd like you to come in again as soon as possible, and we'll talk about how we can sort this out. But it won't be my remit, he said. We'll need to refer you to an endocrinologist. But come back in and we'll talk about it. And everything's a bit of a daze, but I don't know. I went back in quite quickly and to see him. And he said, yes, so the blood test indicates that you've got a tumour on your pituitary gland. Now, I know lots of people know what the pituitary gland is, but I didn't have a clue. I still sometimes I think, like, how do you spell it? So the pituitary gland is a pea-sized gland, which is, so you go like that and then there, and it's hanging off the back of your brain. And it is one of the most important glands in your body. It is one of the most important things in your body. It regulates all of your hormones. And anybody listening, male or female, will know that when a hormone is out of sync, everything goes out of sync. So it was stopping my estrogen, which was probably what was causing the memory problems. It was certainly what had stopped the periods. And I was also getting hair loss. I apologise for not remembering that, but I was also getting hair loss, like clumps of hair would come out in the shower, and my nails became really thin. So it was very similar to menopause. And I was 35 or 34 and I was single, and it was really affecting sort of my mental health. I thought, I want to meet somebody. I want to be with somebody. And if I'm going to end up like with no memory and things like that, then that hope for my life is just not going to happen. So I saw this gynecologist again, and he said, this indicates that you've got a pituitary brain tumour. And you're going to need an MRI. But I can't organise that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to refer you to an endocrinologist. And this most wonderful man, he's passed away now. Dr. Price, he was absolutely wonderful. And he was this ginormous man, really tall. And it just, like consultants can be a bit off sometimes. You think you build up any rapport with them. But he was just fun, and he was lovely, and he even gave me his home number, and he just wanted to help. It was what his purpose was. And I was sent for an MRI, and it proved that there was a tumour on my pituitary gland. Now, just to give listeners a bit of an indication, so they tested my prolactin levels, and that's just done with a blood test. And I think a normal prolactin level is 20. And at that time, mine was 10,000. So my tumour was called a macroprolactinoma, which means it's big. So in November 2012, I had transsphenoidal surgery, which goes through the nose, to remove the tumour. And I had that done with in Oxford, and when I came round in ICU, immediately my first image in my mind was my daughter when she was 18 months old. Immediately I had my memory back. I could see my daughter again, and I just cried. And I always cry after anaesthetic anyway, and then I love everybody, and then I want hugs, and then I get a bit bolshy. But it was just incredible. I can still see that picture now, a little yellow jumpsuit and a dark blue dress. And that is a picture I want to be buried with. Kind of hoped I'd wake up with, being able to speak another language or something like that, but it wasn't to be. I love it. So I had that surgery, and I was told, we've got everything out. It went really well. We've got everything out. And I didn't know at that time that that's actually impossible. They never know if they've got everything out. I've only learnt that in the last probably 2019, I learned that, which is about 5 years ago now, that when they say they've got everything out, I don't know why do they say it? I don't know, I think we need to talk about the fact that we are all going to die. Stop giving people false hope, because with that false hope, we go on and we think, do you know what? I've got 40 years to do this, but you might not have. So enjoy now. Don't get aggravated that Walker's crisps don't do the pickled onion anymore. Just move on from it. So it regrew. Is basically what I'm going to say. It regrew. So 2 years later, I found that my memory was going again. And I was making up words. I still do that now. So, the other week, I dropped a coaster. The cup had stuck to it. And my partner went, "Oh, what was that?" And I went, "It's a sticky pig." And it's supposed to just say coaster. I don't know where sticky pig came from, but it's now stuck. It's now a coaster is a sticky pig. But, so the second time it came back, I was put forward for gamma knife radiotherapy. Oh my God, don't Google it if you're having your lunch. But what it is they screw a thing into your head. So a cage, screw it into your head. I fainted I didn't faint from the pain because there was no pain. It was just because I could see the surgeon screwing. I could see him screwing like the screw, and I thought, "Oh, that's good into my skull." So that's when I fainted. And next thing, like legs in the air, part of this thing on my head and whatever. And I got myself in a right old panic. So what they did is they screwed this thing in, so it's not gonna move or anything. And they put me in a wheelchair and put me in a lift, and there's a mirror in the lift. So I just sat in the lift with my eyes closed because I thought, I don't want to see this thing on my head. And then they put me in an MRI machine just to make sure that they were still going to hit the right place with this radiotherapy, because it was just a one shot and a massive shot, this gamma knife. And they clipped me into this thing and I'm led down. And then for some reason, I started thinking, what happens if there's a fire? Will they remember I'm in here? And just completely paranoid, like making up all these scenarios that the hospital was going to catch fire, they were going to leave me, and I'd have to either just lay there and burn or run out with this MRI machine on my back. It's like, so afterwards, I'm like hyperventilating. Yeah. They had to give me some Valium. Now, I think this is all part of the tumour as well, is this like these weird thoughts and things like that sometimes. So, yeah, I don't think you want me to take you through all of the surgeries because they've all sort of been, the same thing. So it's now, what is it? February 2025 that we're recording this. And I've had 3 more surgeries. So in total, I've had 4 surgeries, a hit of gamma knife radiotherapy, and I've just been taken off chemo. I did chemo for 6 months, and I had temozolomide. And when we started the cycle, the first cycle, my prolactin levels were 13,900, and we've done 6 months of temozolomide, and my prolactin levels are 3,000 and something now. So it's actually gone down by 10,000, which is wonderful. And I've had 2 MRIs in that time, and it is less bulky. So that's good. And I'm not being negative with this next comment. I'm just realistic, because that's what they've said. We have no idea what will happen now. We don't know whether it'll go, well, hey, they're no longer like standing on me. I'm just going to go wild again and grow really fast. Or it might say, do you know what? That temozolomide actually really peed me off. So I'm just going to stay small for a little bit longer. But yeah, it's an aggressive pituitary tumour. It has been resistant to drugs. It just couldn't care less when surgery comes around. Radiotherapy, it's like, what's that? It's just a bolshy, aggressive little turd. So I am really, really struggling at the moment. I used to belong to a running club and go to the gym and everything, and had a big circle of friends that used to do the same sorts of stuff, and had lots of support from them. So a lot of people knew about it. And when I had the surgery, a lot of people would say, "Oh, you must be relieved, and you look so well," and things like that. And it was lovely of them. But I didn't know how to live after that, because my whole life I'd adjusted to the symptoms that I had, the fear. I was sort of like in fight or flight a lot of the time. I'd have afternoon naps, and it's really hard to kind of explain. But I was listening to a true crime podcast the other night, and somebody on there mentioned adjustment disorder. And I thought, you know what, that kind of sounds like what I had when I had my first tumour, where you kind of, adjustment disorder, it sort of allowed me to know or understand what I was perhaps going through compared to, what other 48-year-olds have got. However, I have never been happier. And a lot of that is because of my partner, because of how much I love him and how generous and wonderful he is as a partner. But the other lot of it is because I know I'm not going to live forever. And I appreciate life so much more. It's just, you see these stories. Oh, doctors saved her life. No, they didn't save her life. They prolonged it. I think we all need to talk a little bit more about death, about the fact that we could get ill, we might get ill. I started my business as a virtual assistant in 2015. That was after the first surgery and radiotherapy. And I developed Addison's disease as well. Working a 9 till 5 just was no longer possible. Just getting to work was my energy gone. And I've managed to evolve the business in such a way that it can run largely without me. And I wouldn't have taken that route if I thought that I'll never get ill again. I'll never, this won't happen to me again, or what have you. I always had in the back of my mind that it might come back, and the bloody thing has so many times. And I had to take so many months off for recovery. After the surgery, you can't even bend down for 3 months because fear of a CSF leak. And it's just been incredible that I feel blessed that I know that I haven't got 40 years. They might find some new drug that sorts things out. But yeah, no, I actually feel blessed. I enjoy life a lot more. I only do things that I want to do. I only have people around me that enhance my life and whose life I can enhance. Yeah, I've never been somebody to take any nonsense from anybody, but even more so, I won't anymore. Yeah, and I've found a purpose. I mean, my daughter's 26 now, and we are very close. I see her a lot, but of course, she's not my purpose anymore because she's got her own life. She lives her own life in London. She's got a boyfriend, so she's not my main focus. But my business gives me an enormous purpose, a reason to try and get up in the mornings. But equally, it also enables me to just sit in bed and work sometimes. And yeah, even though life is hard and quality of life isn't what it was, and some days I feel absolutely awful mentally, I am grateful for the tumour. So, yeah, think about how you want people to be around you, because you can get some people that there's this toxic positivity, and some people can be like, you're going to be fine. Stop being negative. It'll be fine. That means that we don't develop coping skills. When you're diagnosed with something that is going to change your life potentially, you want to know how to cope with it. So choose who you share things with. Choose who you allow into your circle. Choose who goes to appointments with you, or something like that. And also register now with your GP to try and access some psychology, a psychologist, because there will be times where you're having to rapidly adapt your life, and you may not yet have the coping skills for that. So when I was first diagnosed, I had to have the conversation with my daughter's dad about him perhaps becoming a full-time carer if something was to go wrong. And you have to think about things like that. Because I was told about the risk of stroke and from the surgery and the risk of death and things like that. And so you do have to be prepared. And just evaluate your life. Think about, do you know what? I meet, I don't know, Jane that I used to go to uni with every 6 months, and I always come away feeling rubbish for a week afterwards. Don't meet her anymore. You don't have to. She's not going to be in the same nursing home as you. Highly unlikely anyway. Or one of you will have dementia and you won't know who the other one is anyway. So just think about what is in your life, because it's a great time to filter things out and make everything enjoyable. And another thing for anybody that has got any pituitary problems, there is the Pituitary Foundation. They're based in Bristol. They're just a small charity. And they've got a wealth of resources. They host support groups. I've never been to any of them because they don't do them in my hometown. Have a look at the Pituitary Foundation, because they've helped me a lot. They got a nurse helpline as well. So, yeah, they're fantastic. When you're diagnosed with something that is life-changing, you do suddenly want things in your life that you enjoy, creating a life that works for you, that you enjoy, that is not dictated to by another adult. It's incredible. And I think sometimes it's not until you've had a life-changing experience that you make your life better for yourself.
This is the Aunty M Brain Tumours talk show. It's a show full of informative chat and inspirational messages. The Aunty M Brain Tumours talk show on podcast.